The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, transmitted through quantum channels that humanity had only recently begun to understand. In the Grand Chamber of the United Earth Council, representatives from every nation watched as the holographic display materialized, revealing beings that would forever change Earth's destiny. The Nexian Empire had arrived. Supreme Overseer Zarak stood tall among her fellow council members, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the ambient light of their flagship's command center. These humans, she mused, examining the detailed reports before her, they achieved quantum communication in mere decades after discovering nuclear fission. Her voice carried a hint of concern that she quickly masked with practiced disdain. The Nexian Empire had ruled the known galaxy for 10,000 cycles, their technological superiority unchallenged. They had encountered and subjugated countless civilizations, each following the same predictable pattern of development. But humans were different. In just 3 centuries, they had progressed from primitive combustion engines to quantum entanglement technology. This unprecedented rate of advancement sent tremors of unease through the Empire's ruling class. Their military capabilities remained primitive, declared High Commander Vexthor, his mandibles clicking in apparent amusement. Their vessels still rely on chemical propulsion for primary thrust. Their weapons are kinetic and nuclear, ancient by our standards. He projected a simulation showing Earth's defensive capabilities, carefully crafted to downplay the aspects that worried the Empire most. What the simulation didn't show was humanity's mastery of artificial intelligence, their breakthrough in quantum computing, or their rapidly evolving nanotechnology. The Empire's deep cover agents had reported these developments with increasing alarm, but the Council chose to see what they wanted to see. Earth's response to the Empire's arrival was puzzling to the Nexians. Instead of panic or awe, humans greeted them with measured diplomacy. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's appointed ambassador, spoke with quiet confidence during the first contact transmission. The people of Earth welcome the Nexian Empire and look forward to peaceful cultural exchange, she said, her words carefully chosen, her expression revealing nothing of Earth's true preparations. Behind closed doors, the United Earth Council had already been preparing for this moment for decades. They had detected the Empire's probe ships years ago, tracking their movements, gathering data. Every public display of primitive technology had been orchestrated, every apparent weakness carefully constructed. Admiral James Rodriguez, commander of Earth's covert fleet, stood in the underground command center beneath the Mariana Trench, watching as construction drones assembled the latest quantum phase battleships. How long before the Empire realizes their mistake? His executive officer asked. Long enough, Rodriguez replied, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays showing Earth's hidden defensive grid. They see what they expect to see. Another primitive species ready for conquest. Their arrogance blinds them to the truth. The truth was that humanity had united in secret decades ago, when their first quantum telescopes revealed the Empire's systematic conquest of neighboring systems. While maintaining a facade of political division and technological backwardness, Earth's nations had pooled their resources and brilliant minds toward a single goal: survival. In the Empire's council chamber, only junior observer Killera seemed troubled by the humans' response. Supreme Overseer, she ventured, their behavior patterns don't match our previous encounters with pre-spacefaring civilizations. Their resource allocation suggests. Enough, Zorax interrupted. Your concern for these primitives is noted, but unnecessary. Prepare the integration fleet. We will offer them the standard terms: surrender or face extinction. Like all the others, they will choose survival over pride. As the Empire's message of ultimatum was prepared, Dr. Chen received it in the council chamber with an appropriate show of fear and submission. The moment the transmission ended, she turned to her colleagues. They've taken the bait. Initiate Protocol Omega. Across Earth's solar system, hidden shipyards powered up. Quantum computers processed combat simulations at impossible speeds. AI systems fine-tuned battle strategies. And in laboratories across the planet, Scientists put the finishing touches on weapons the Empire couldn't begin to comprehend. The Nexians believed they were dealing with a primitive species that would roll over at the first sign of superior force. Instead, they were about to face an enemy that had spent years preparing specifically for them, studying their weaknesses, and developing countermeasures to their every advantage. As the Empire's integration fleet began its journey to Earth, humanity waited patiently. They had spent years crafting this deception, appearing weak while growing strong. Now, as the massive Nexian ships approached, Earth's defenders allowed themselves small smiles. The Empire's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating humanity's technology. It was underestimating humanity's capacity for strategic deception. The trap was set. The Empire was coming. And humanity was ready to show the galaxy that appearing primitive didn't mean being primitive. The real question wasn't whether Earth would survive. It was whether the Nexian Empire would survive its encounter with humanity. Deep beneath the ice sheets of Antarctica, in a facility unknown to the approaching Nexian Empire, Dr. Elena Santos watched as the quantum core pulsed with an otherworldly blue light. The culmination of 20 years of research hung suspended in a magnetic containment field, looking deceptively small for something that could reshape the fundamentals of warfare. Final diagnostics are complete, her colleague Dr. Marcus Wong announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The quantum shield matrix is stable at full power. He paused, allowing himself a moment of pride. They won't see this coming. The quantum shield was humanity's ace in the hole. While the Empire's sensors detected primitive deflector technology around Earth's major cities, they remained blind to the quantum barrier grid that could be activated at a moment's notice. It was just one piece of humanity's carefully orchestrated preparation. In lunar orbit, hidden beneath a cloak of advanced metamaterials, Admiral Rodriguez inspected the latest addition to Earth's true fleet. The EVS Hyperion gleamed under the artificial lights of the camouflaged shipyard, its hull incorporating technologies that the Empire believed were centuries beyond human capability. Status report, Rodriguez commanded, his voice echoing through the command center. All systems are go, Admiral, Captain Maya Patul responded, her hologram flickering beside him. The Hyperion's AI core has completed its final integration. The quantum weaponry is calibrated, and the stealth systems are operating at peak efficiency. She smiled grimly. The Empire's ships won't know what hit them. Meanwhile, in orbit around Mars, Operation Ghostwalker entered its final phase. Thousands of autonomous drones, each smaller than a human hand, swarmed through the red planet's atmosphere, constructing massive underground hangars and defense installations. To the Empire's observers, Mars appeared unchanged, a dead world of rust and dust. They never detected the artificial caverns being carved beneath its surface, or the weapon platforms being assembled in its shadows. Back on Earth, the deception continued. The Nexian Empire's advanced scouts reported exactly what they expected to see: scattered orbital satellites, primitive space stations, and a handful of chemical-propelled warships. What they missed were the quantum entanglement relays, hidden in plain sight, disguised as communication satellites. These would allow Earth's forces to coordinate instantly across the solar system, bypassing the light speed limitations that the Empire's forces still struggled with. In the Nexian flagship approaching Earth, Supreme Overseer Xerax reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Their response to our ultimatum is telling, she declared to her council. They've increased military activity, but their technology remains laughably inferior. Their attempts at defense will be futile. Junior Observer Kylera, however, couldn't shake her growing sense of unease. Supreme Overseer, I've been analyzing their cultural data streams. Their entertainment media consistently depicts scenarios of humanity prevailing against superior forces. Their historical records show a pattern of. Your obsession with human psychology is noted, Xerax interrupted sharply. But psychology means nothing against our superior technology. Prepare the invasion fleet for final approach. What the Empire didn't understand was that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden technology. It was their experience with warfare itself. Unlike the Nexians, who had relied on overwhelming technological superiority for millennia, humans had spent their history fighting against odds, adapting to stronger opponents, and turning weaknesses into strengths. In the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Chen, who had played the role of Earth's submissive ambassador, now stood in her true element. The mountain itself had been hollowed out and transformed into a command center that rivaled anything in the Empire's arsenal. Holographic displays showed the position of every ship in the approaching Nexian fleet, their weaknesses highlighted by AI analysis. The Empire believes they're dealing with a pre-spacefaring civilization. She addressed her command staff. They expect us to fight like one, to react to their moves, to be overwhelmed by their technology. Instead, we're going to show them how humanity fights when we've had time to prepare. Throughout the solar system, humanity's forces maintained their facade of weakness while completing their final preparations. The quantum shield grid was ready. The stealth fleet was in position. The Mars defense platforms were armed. Most importantly, the Empire remained completely unaware of what awaited them. As the Nexian invasion fleet entered the outer solar system, they transmitted their final warning to Earth. They expected fear, perhaps some token resistance. They anticipated a swift victory that would add another primitive species to their vast empire. What they didn't expect was that every second they spent approaching Earth was another second humanity used to perfect their trap. The Empire thought they were approaching a primitive world ripe for conquest. Instead, they were walking into the most elaborate ambush in human military history. In the Antarctic facility, Dr. Santos watched the tactical display showing the Empire's approach. "How long should we let them think they're winning?" she asked Dr. Wong. He smiled, checking the quantum core's readings one final time. Just long enough for them to commit their entire fleet. After all, we've spent years setting this stage. Might as well give them a proper show before we bring down the curtain. The Nexian invasion fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of Earth's solar system, their massive ships casting long shadows across the void. 5,000 vessels strong, it was a force that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Supreme Overseer Zarak stood on her command deck, mandibles clicking in anticipation as she observed the holographic display of their target. Primitive defenses detected, her tactical officer reported. Earth's military vessels are gathering in low orbit. Estimated threat level: minimal. Send the final warning, Zarak commanded. Let them see the futility of resistance. The message boomed across Earth's communication channels, transmitted in every human language. Your time has ended. Submit to the Empire's authority or face annihilation. You have one planetary rotation to comply. In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Elena Santos exchanged glances with General Chen. "They're right where we want them," Chen said, her voice steady. "Initiate Operation Thunderclap." Across the solar system, humanity's trap began to spring. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Nexian fleet's quantum communications suddenly went dark. Their sophisticated networks, capable of instantaneous communication across light years, simply stopped working. "Impossible," Zarak hissed. "Run diagnostics." But before her crew could respond, something even more alarming occurred. The seemingly primitive human satellites they'd dismissed as space debris began to pulse with energy. Quantum entanglement fields rippled across space, creating a web of interconnected force that enclosed the Nexian fleet. Their technology: this can't be. The tactical officer's crystalline exoskeleton trembled. They're generating quantum fields beyond our theoretical limits. On the bridge of the EDS Hyperion, now decloaking alongside hundreds of other hidden vessels, Admiral Rodriguez gave the order they'd spent years preparing for. Execute primary attack pattern. Show them what humanity can really do. The quantum shield grid activated, cutting off the Nexian fleet's retreat. Simultaneously, the Mars defense platforms emerged from their underground bunkers, their weapons already charged. The Empire's ships found themselves caught in a three-dimensional killing field, with Earth's true fleet revealing itself on all sides. Multiple human vessels detected. A Nexian officer screamed. Their energy signatures. They're using technologies we've never seen. The first wave of human attacks demonstrated just how badly the Empire had underestimated their opponent. Quantum-tipped missiles phased through Nexian shields as if they weren't there. Swarms of AI-controlled drones, each carrying a miniaturized version of Dr. Santos' quantum core, attached themselves to enemy ships and began disrupting their internal systems. "Return fire," Zorax commanded, but her fleet's coordinated combat algorithms had been shattered by the quantum interference. Without their normal technological advantages, the Nexian ships fought as individuals, precisely as humanity had planned. From her position in the Lunar Command Center, Captain Patel directed the human fleet's movements with cold precision. "Target their command and control nodes," she ordered. "Don't let them re-establish fleet coordination." The space around Earth erupted in chaos as humanity revealed the full extent of their deception. Ships that the Empire had dismissed as primitive suddenly transformed, metamaterials reconfiguring to reveal their true nature. Weapon systems that should have been centuries beyond human capability opened fire with devastating accuracy. Junior observer Kylera, watching from a secondary command ship, finally understood. They were never primitive, she transmitted to the fleet. Everything we saw was a carefully crafted illusion. We walked into a trap generations in the making. The Empire's ships, designed for overwhelming power rather than adaptability, struggled to cope with human tactics. Earth's vessels fought unconventionally, using maneuvers developed through centuries of theoretical space combat simulations. Their AI systems, unrestricted by the rigid protocols that governed Imperial technology, adapted in real time to Nexian counterattacks. Dr. Wong, monitoring the quantum shield grid's performance, allowed himself a grim smile as he watched the Empire's mighty fleet thrashing in humanity's net. "They still don't understand," he said to Dr. Santos. "They think this is just about technology." He was right. The Empire had fallen into the most basic of military traps. Assuming that technological superiority guaranteed victory, they had never faced an enemy who had spent years studying them, analyzing their weaknesses, and developing specific countermeasures to their every advantage. "Their fleet is in disarray," General Chen reported, watching the tactical displays. "Moving to Phase 2. The Mars defense platforms, their power no longer hidden, began launching salvos of quantum-guided projectiles. Each shot found its mark with impossible accuracy, guided by AI systems that could predict and counter Nexian evasive maneuvers before they began. On her flagship's command deck, Supreme Overseer Zorax watched in horror as her mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy she had gravely underestimated. "How?" she demanded. "How could they have hidden this level of advancement?" The answer, had she understood humanity better, was simple. They had done it by playing to the Empire's own prejudices and assumptions. Every display of weakness had been calculated. Every sign of primitive technology had been a carefully crafted deception. As the battle raged on, humanity's true strength became clear. It wasn't just their hidden technology or their strategic deception. It was their ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to turn an enemy's strength into a weakness. The Empire had expected to find a primitive species ready for conquest. Instead, they had found humanity at its most dangerous, prepared, united, and fighting on their own terms. As the remnants of the Nexian invasion fleet scattered across the solar system, humanity prepared for their next move. In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Rodriguez stood before a holographic map of known Nexian space, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of tactical projections. "The Empire thinks they know defeat," he addressed the assembled fleet commanders. "They've lost battles before, but always to superior numbers or technology. What they're about to learn is that humanity doesn't just win battles. We win wars." The quantum entanglement network hummed with activity as Earth's true fleet mobilized. The EDS Hyperion, now joined by its sister ships from hidden shipyards across the solar system, prepared to lead humanity's counteroffensive. But this was no simple revenge mission. Humanity had bigger plans. Our intelligence networks are already in place, General Chen reported, her hologram flickering beside the tactical display. While the Empire was watching our primitive satellites, our quantum probes mapped their entire defense network. We know every weakness, every vulnerability, every point of failure in their system. In orbit around Jupiter, Captain Patel supervised the final preparations of the assault fleet. The gas giant's swirling storms had concealed humanity's largest shipyard, where vessels equipped with technologies the Empire couldn't comprehend waited for the order to move. But these ships carried more than just advanced weapons. They carried the sum total of humanity's military experience. The Empire expects us to fight like them, Patel briefed her crew, to rely on brute force and superior technology. Instead, we're going to show them every dirty trick, every unconventional strategy, every desperate gambit that humanity has ever conceived. We're going to fight like humans. The first phase of the counter-strike began not with a battle, but with a broadcast. Dr. Elena Santos had discovered a vulnerability in the Empire's quantum communication network, a way to bypass their sensors and reach every world in their domain simultaneously. The message was simple. Humanity was coming, not as conquerors, but as liberators. Let them think about that, Dr. Wong commented as the transmission went out. While they're worried about insurrection, they won't see our real strategy. The human fleet moved with a speed that shocked the Empire's defensive pickets. Using quantum tunneling technology developed by Dr. Santos' team, Earth's ships could traverse vast distances without entering normal space. The Empire's early warning systems, designed to detect ships in quantum space, were useless against this new method of travel. First to fall was the Nexian military hub in the Centauri sector. The Empire's commanders were still trying to understand how human ships had bypassed their detection grid when quantum-phased missiles began striking their command centers. By the time they organized a response, humanity's forces had already moved on to their next target. They're trying to adapt, Junior Observer Killera reported to the Imperial High Command. But their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming force. They don't know how to counter an enemy that refuses to fight on their terms. She was right. The Empire's response to humanity's offensive was predictable. They concentrated their forces, formed defensive lines, and prepared for massive fleet engagements. But humanity had no intention of fighting the war the Empire expected. Instead, Earth's forces struck from unexpected angles, using methods that defied Imperial military doctrine. AI-controlled drone swarms infiltrated Nexian shipyards, reprogramming construction facilities to build useless ships. Quantum viruses infected their communication networks, turning their own command and control systems against them. Special operations teams, using personal stealth technology, infiltrated key facilities and disappeared before the Empire even knew they were there. This isn't war as they understand it, Admiral Rodriguez observed, watching the Empire's forces chase shadows across a dozen star systems. This is every lesson humanity ever learned about asymmetric warfare, applied on a galactic scale. The Empire's response grew increasingly desperate. They began evacuating key facilities, fortifying their core worlds, and deploying their most advanced defensive systems. But they were still fighting the last war, still trying to counter threats they understood, while humanity's actual strategy unfolded unseen. They think we're targeting their military infrastructure, General Chen explained to the United Earth Council. They don't realize that every battle, every engagement, every apparent victory or defeat is pushing them exactly where we want them. In her flagship, now hiding in the ruins of her broken invasion fleet, Supreme Overseer Xerax began to understand the true scope of her predicament. The humans weren't just defeating Imperial forces, they were systematically dismantling the very foundations of Imperial power. Every victory they achieved inspired more resistance among the Empire's subjugated worlds. Every demonstration of their capabilities made the Empire's technological superiority seem less absolute. We're not just fighting their military, she realized, watching reports of unrest spread across Imperial space. We're fighting their ideas. The Empire had ruled through fear and technological superiority. Now humanity was showing the galaxy that both could be overcome. Each imperial world that saw human ships effortlessly bypassing their defenses, each colony that witnessed the Empire's mighty fleets scattered by human ingenuity, became a potential ally in waiting. As the counteroffensive entered its second phase, Dr. Santos made a discovery that would change the course of the war. Their quantum network, she explained to the command staff, it's not just for communication. It's the foundation of their entire society, and we now know how to shut it down. The Empire had built its dominion on technological prowess, never imagining that a primitive species could turn that same technology against them. They were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their hidden fleet or their advanced quantum weapons. It was their ability to take an enemy's strength and transform it into a fatal weakness. In the heart of Nexian space, aboard the last great fortress of the Empire's power, Supreme Overseer Xerax faced a truth her species had never imagined possible. The holographic displays surrounding her showed not just military defeats, but the systematic collapse of an empire that had stood for 10,000 years. The humans, she whispered, her crystalline exoskeleton dulled with stress. They never needed to destroy us. They're making us destroy ourselves. Dr. Elena Santos' discovery about the quantum network had proven devastating. The Empire's entire civilization depended on quantum-linked technology, from their fastest ships to their most basic infrastructure. As humanity's attack algorithms spread through their networks, that dependency became their undoing. Final phase initiated, Dr. Wong reported from the Antarctic Command Center. Their quantum network is experiencing cascading failures across 80% of Imperial space. On 1,000 worlds, Imperial citizens watch their technology fail, not through brute force attacks, but through elegant manipulations of the underlying quantum principles they thought they had mastered. Humanity hadn't just matched their technological prowess, they had fundamentally redefined it. Admiral Rodriguez, coordinating the final offensive from the EDS Hyperion, received the status updates with grim satisfaction. The Empire's fleet formations are breaking down, he announced to the combined Earth forces. But remember, our goal isn't destruction, it's transformation. That transformation had already begun. Junior observer Kylora, who had warned of humanity's potential from the start, now stood before the remnants of the Imperial High Command. We were wrong, she declared, her voice carrying across quantum channels to every surviving Imperial world. Wrong about humans, wrong about ourselves, wrong about what makes a civilization truly advanced. In orbit around Earth, General Chen watched the tactical displays with Captain Patil as the Empire's remaining forces faced their final choice. They're sending a transmission, Patil reported. All channels, all frequencies. The voice of Supreme Overseer Xerax filled the command center, but it was not the voice of the arrogant leader who had ordered Earth's conquest. It was the voice of someone who had glimpsed a fundamental truth about the nature of power and civilization itself. To all Imperial forces, to all Imperial worlds, and to the people of Earth, she began. I speak now not as your Supreme Overseer, but as one who has witnessed the future. The Empire as we knew it ends today. Dr. Santos and Dr. Wong exchanged glances as they monitored the quantum network signals. The Empire's technology was rebuilding itself, not according to Imperial protocols, but following new patterns that would prevent any one species from dominating the others as the Nexians had done. They did more than defeat us, Xerax continued. They showed us a different way. While we sought to rule through technological superiority, they advanced through adaptation and innovation. While we demanded submission, they offered collaboration. While we stagnated in our perceived perfection, they never stopped evolving. Across the galaxy, on worlds long subjugated by Imperial might, revolution bloomed. But it was not the chaos the Empire had feared. Instead, it was transformation, guided by the principles humanity had demonstrated: unity in diversity, strength through adaptation, power tempered by wisdom. The humans could have destroyed us, Kylra addressed her fellow Nexians. Their quantum weapons could have shattered our worlds. Their AI systems could have erased our civilization. Instead, they chose to show us our own potential. In the Antarctic Command Center, humanity's leaders received the Empire's formal surrender. But it came with an unexpected proposal, not submission to Earth's authority, but an invitation to help build something new. "We stand ready to help," General Chen responded, "not as conquerors or saviors, but as equals. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us to grow, to learn, to evolve together." Admiral Rodriguez, watching from the Hyperion's bridge, smiled as the first Imperial ships began powering down their weapons. In the end, he mused, our greatest victory wasn't defeating their fleet. It was showing them a better way to use their power. The quantum network, once the Empire's tool of control, transformed into a bridge between civilizations. Dr. Santos's modifications ensured it would serve all species equally, preventing any single power from dominating the others. The technology that had built an empire now became the foundation of something greater, a true galactic community. As the dust settled and the new era began, Dr. Wong stood with his colleagues in the facility that had helped change the course of history. "You know what the Empire never understood?" he asked, watching the quantum core pulse with its ethereal light. "Technology isn't what makes a civilization great. It's what they choose to do with it." On Earth, humanity celebrated not just their victory, but the dawn of a new age. They had faced the greatest power in the galaxy and emerged triumphant, not through destruction, but through transformation. They had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their hidden technology or military might. It was their ability to imagine and create a better future, even for those who had once been their enemies. The Empire had fallen, but what rose in its place was something far greater. A galaxy where different species could learn from each other, grow together, and reach for the stars not in conquest, but in cooperation. And it had all begun because humanity refused to be what the Empire expected them to be. Just another primitive species waiting to be conquered. In the end, they had done more than save Earth. They had shown the galaxy that true power lies not in domination, but in the courage to choose a different path. The human fleet that had trembled the Empire had done more than win a war. It had sparked a revolution in what was possible when technology was guided by wisdom, and power was tempered by compassion.